Okay, guys, greetings once again, and welcome to another edition by iCampSA. In this one, we're looking at question 2 of the 2025 pre-June exam paper 2. Our focus is still on statistics, and remember, we've done question 1 already. So let's go ahead and have a look at question 2. So the statement reads, a group of grade 11 learners were interviewed about using a certain application to send SMS messages. The number of SMS messages M sent by each learner was summarized in the histogram below. Okay, so for the first question, we are required to complete the cumulative frequency table provided. But what we need to realize is that at least for our case, we're given the past paper, not the answer book. So I don't have the frequency table. So it means I need to quickly do it myself. So if you observe carefully, what we are going to have is the number of SMSs. So we're going to have the number of SMS, okay? And then we are going to have the frequency. And then we are going to have the cumulative frequency, okay? So I'm going to, let's create some space. So we have the number of SMSs, we have the frequency, then we have the cumulative frequency. So let's zoom in. So let's go ahead and write this. So for the number of SMSs, if you observe carefully, we have 0 and 2. So what I'm going to say is that let x be less than 2, but bigger than 0. So we're going to have 2 bigger than, if you look carefully, then x is bigger than 2, but less than 4. And then x is greater than 4, but less than 6. Then we'll have x is less than or equal to 6, but less than 8. Then we're going to have 8 is less than x, but sorry, greater than, x is greater than 8, yes, but less than 10. Okay, let's put that, less than 10. Then we'll have x, we'll have 10 is less than x, or equal to, but less than 12. Okay, if you look carefully, we need to go up to 16. So we'll have 12. Then we'll have 14 less than x less than 16. Okay, that is what we have. So let's quickly put up the frequency. So if you look carefully between 0 and 2, what we have is a 7. And then that is going to be followed by a 15, 26, and then 29, and then 36, then 31, and 14, and then 2. So at cumulative frequency, remember, the first entry, we take it as it is. So we take 7. Okay. And then for the next entry, remember, we do 7 plus 15. Okay. So you should go and do 7 plus 15, of which you will see that you end up getting 22. Okay, then you do 22 plus your 26. Okay, it will be 22 plus 26. That will give us 48. Then 48, you'll add 29 for the next one. That will give you 77. Then you add 36 for the next one. So what we are doing is 48 plus 29. That is how you get 77. Then you do 77 plus 36. And what you end up getting is 113. Then what you do 113 plus 31. And what you end up getting is 144. Then you carry on, you add again. So we'll add 14. Then you get 158. And then you carry on, you add that one and that one. Plus 2, you end up getting 160. Okay. So that becomes our cumulative frequency element which is what they were looking for question 2.1. Okay, so I hope that that does make sense. And then with this now, we're in a position to go and answer question 2.2. So 2.2 requires us to go and draw our Ogive curve. So 2.2, what is our Ogive curve? Okay. And what I need you to remember is that for the Ogive curve, we use cumulative frequency. Okay. That is what we use to do our drawing. So we use cumulative frequency. So what I'm going to do is to go to the next page and start doing our plot. So let's better this handwriting here. So cumulative frequency. So let's take this, go to the next page, and then quickly plot our Ogive curve. Okay. Right, so let's go ahead and deal with this. So what I'm going to have, something like this, and that. Right. So let's go ahead and cook. So what I'm going to try and do is, if you observe carefully, we have 0 up until 16. So we can actually afford to move in steps of 2. So we can have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and then 16. Okay. And then going up, what I'm going to do tens. So I'm going to have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. So I need 160. So let's move down. Sorry. Okay. So let's quickly see once again. So we can have a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, then 100, and then we have 110, 120, and then 130, 140. Okay, but we need to get up to 160. So what can we do? Because I'm at 140 there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make this axis to be just a bit small. Okay, so let's push it down equally, then just move it up. So what do we have? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, then 150, 160. Okay, so that is what we have. Let's quickly label that. So that is what we have as our graph. So we can go ahead now and do our plotting. So if you observe carefully, 2 will go with 7. So 7 is just below 10. So we can locate it somewhere here. Okay. And then if you look carefully, 4 in 22. So 20 is right about here. So we can say 22 is about there. Okay. Like that. Then you'll see that we'll have 8 and 77. So I'm going to go to just below 80. Or 77 is somewhere there. And then let's have our 6. Okay, 6. Like that. Then if you look carefully, we have 10 and 113, so 10. So 113 is just above 110. So we'll have that there. And then let's just move up. That's 8. Sorry, let me see. Oh, that is 10. So let me quickly fix something. So 6 is at 48. So this here, you guys, is supposed to move to here. Okay. And then 6, if you look carefully, 6 here is at 48. So 48 is just below 50. So 6 is here. Okay. Hope that this does make sense. And then now if you go to 10, you'll see that we're at 113. So that is our 10 sitting here. And then 12 is sitting at 144. So 144 is just somewhere in between here, between 150 and 140. So that is our 12. Okay, somewhere there. And our 14 is at 158. So 158 is very close to 160. So that becomes our 14. Okay, it's meeting somewhere here. And then we have our 160. And that maps with 16. Okay. Like that. Okay. So let's go ahead now and connect these. So it's going to be that. So remember, you'll be given a graph paper, so your scale will be much more okay, and this will look way better than it does here. Okay. So this is just my rough sketch. And then you just need to remember your axis. So remember, what we have is the number of SMSs. So you should make sure that you always put that up. So what you have is your number of SMS. Then on the vertical side, you have cumulative frequency. So that is your CF of, that is the cumulative frequency of, if you observe carefully, the number of SMSs. So it's the number of learners. Okay. So that is what you would put up here. Okay. So we're done with that. And then what we need to do now is to go and deal with the next questions, which is this one. Use the Ogive curve to identify the median. Okay. So let's go and cook the median. And remember the median, 2.4. Sorry, it's 2.3. Okay, so in 2.3, we are trying to figure out what is our median. But what we remember is that our median Q2, its position can be obtained by half of n plus 1. So the 160 here is our n. So this means my Q2 will be half of 160 plus 1, which will be equal to, so you'll have 161 divided by 2. And what you end up getting is 80.5. Okay. So this 80.5, I'm going to look for in my graph. Okay. So let's go ahead and do so. So if you observe carefully, we have 80 and would have 85 somewhere here. So 80.5 is very close to 80. So I would go and draw a line like that. And then once we are there, take it down like that. Okay. Right. So if you observe carefully, this should be very easy because here in the middle, we know you are going to have round about 9. Okay. So we can choose to say that becomes about 8.5 or 8.2. That would be okay. Because if you read there, you will see that what you are getting is 8 point something. So I would be tempted to say that is probably 8.4. Okay. So I would therefore go and write our answer. Our answer is that our median is maybe 8 point, maybe even 0.3. Okay. So I can say 8.4 SMSs. Okay. So that is how they expect you to be able to use your Ogive curve to be able to figure out what is happening there. Okay. So that is what you were expected to do, guys. Hope it does make sense. Okay. So let's go and have a look at the next question then. They are saying estimate the percentage of learners who sent more than 11 messages using this application. So that is 2.4. So if we think about 2.4, we're looking for learners who sent more than what you call it 11. So let's go ahead and look for the 11 mark and see what we are going to get. Okay. So mark 11, that is just before 12 because in between here, that becomes 15. Okay. So 11 is just very close to 10. So I can go here and then come down here. Okay. So if you observe carefully, you have, 2 point something there. But let's go back to the question. Okay. So let's quickly delete this, guys. So if you read the question again, which I went to read, it says estimate the percentage of learners who sent more than 11 messages. Okay. So it means I need to go to SMSs and then try and figure out where is 11. Okay. So 11 is somewhere in between here. So what I probably need to do, so maybe move this to here. Yeah. And then have that pointing there. Okay. So let's use green now. So if we may, 11 is somewhere there. So what we can do is we can just go up straight like that. Okay. So let's make some space here. Okay. So that is where it meets that. And then what we can do, take that line, push it horizontally like that. Okay. So if you look carefully, it's very close to 130. Okay. So we might as well make it even maybe 131. So here, if this was drawn according to scale, you would easily see the value. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that is 131. Okay. Now, if you observe carefully, it means if you look at least the number of people who sent more than 11 SMSs, you're looking at 131. But now what we need to think of is that remember that this 131 here is actually compounding, okay, from all the SMSs. So in order to figure out the real answer, we need to look to the right of this curve here, which is that at 11 SMSs, the cumulative frequency has become 131. But remember, we have a maximum of 160. So it means we are looking for the people that are between from here to there. Okay. So if you think carefully now, our answer to this problem here will be 160 minus 131. So that will give us the number of people who send 11 or more SMSs. So what we are getting is about 29. So we can therefore make our remark, which is that about 29 learners sent 11 or more SMSs. Okay, so that is what I think. Give it a shot, guys, and you can share what you also think. Okay, so this is what we were expected to do. I hope it does make sense. Cheers.